An atmosphere of profound peace and silence embraced the visitor to the crypt of the fourth station of the cross in Jerusalem, under the Church of St. Mary of the Schism, where the seat of the Armenian Catholic community in the Holy Land is situated. Here, in the heart of the Holy City, the Blessed Sacrament is exposed for adoration every day in the bronze triptych created by a Polish artist. When closed, the triptych shows the earthly Jerusalem with the crucifix and the celebration of the Eucharist. When open, it reveals the heavenly Jerusalem. The two olive trees and lamps on its two wings symbolize the two witnesses of the Book of Revelation, who represent the vocation and task of all Christians to testify and firmly confess their faith in Christ before the world. The shape of the monstrance in the central part of the triptych evokes the Blessed Virgin Mary, who embodies the Church and is the woman who holds the Christ Eucharist in her embrace. Isolated from the noise of the busy thoroughfare in a city crossed by people of every origin, culture and religion, the crypt of the Armenian Catholic Church of Jerusalem is a precious place of recollection and unifying grace, a place of blessing.
This chapel was opened on March the 24th, 2009, and our small community came here at the beginning of March to prepare for this. An adoration for peace and unity, especially among the Christians of Jerusalem. This is a fundamental necessity.
Per l'unità, specialmente fra I cristiani di Gerusalemme, che è una necessità grandissima questa.
The greatest of the stations of the Via Crucis in the Holy City, the fourth station, is traditionally identified as the place where Jesus encountered his mother on the road to Calvary. The encounter is commemorated by a mosaic representing two sandals, which can be seen in the crypt. Dating back to the early Christian centuries, it either predates or is associated with a Byzantine church that once stood on this site. The level of this archaeological finding dates back to the time of Christ, and the fourth station is the only place in the area where this level can be seen. There are other interesting remains from antiquity which make it an important site not only for spiritual, but also for historical, archaeological and artistic reasons. The headquarters of the Armenian Church also accommodate the third station, where the first fall of Jesus, bowed under the weight of the cross, is commemorated in a 15th century chapel, renovated in 1847. A section of the Byzantine road is still visible between the third and fourth stations. At the time of Christ, this route formed a second cardo, connecting the Damascus Gate to the southern gate of Jerusalem. The Armenian Presence in Jerusalem dates back to the early centuries of Christianity and has given the Armenian Orthodox Patriarch a very important role as custodian of the holy places. By contrast, the presence of the Armenian Catholic Church, which broke off from the Armenian Orthodox Church in 1741, is relatively recent.
Solo nel 1854 che un sacerdote è stato inviato qui.
In 1854, a priest, Father Sedov Betavitian, was invited here. He wanted to build an Armenian church in Jerusalem.
E finalmente il suo successore che ha fondato tutto, il padre Hovakim.
He was followed by Father Hovakim Tumayan, a native of Jerusalem, who bought all this land and then founded the church and the convent. He started building the church in 1885, and in 1905 it was completed.
Costruire, bâtir la chiesa, e poi finalmente al 1905 la chiesa è stata completamente fatta.
Before 1741, the history of this Eastern Catholic Church, sui iuris, is shared with the Armenian Orthodox Church, also called the Armenian Apostolic Church. Its time of greatest splendor was reached between the 9th and 10th centuries and is witnessed by impressive architectural and artistic achievements, as well as the writings of St. Gregory of Narek, the great Armenian poet and mystic.
Gli armeni sono stati evangelizzati dai primi secoli dagli apostoli Bartolomeo e Taddeo. Questa è una tradizione.
The Armenian Church was evangelized by the apostles Bartholomew and Thaddeus, according to an old tradition. But the Armenian Church was effectively founded in 301, when Saint Gregory the Illuminator came to Armenia and propagated the Christian faith. The Armenian state was the first one to adopt Christianity as a state religion, and therefore we describe the Armenian state as the first Christian nation.
Prima nazione cristiana come tale.
Like the Syrian and Coptic churches, the Armenian church is considered as a non-Chalcedonian church. The Armenians could not take part in the Council of 451, as they were then under attack by the Persians. In the 6th century, they finally broke away from the Byzantine church, which was the predominant church at that time. After the establishment of an Armenian kingdom in Cilicia, the passage of the Crusaders heading to the holy places in the 12th century created the opportunity for a stronger link to the Roman Catholic Church. At the same time, the arrival of the Dominican and Franciscan orders in Cilicia introduced the Armenian Church to Western, Middle-Age, philosophical and scholastic ways of thinking. The alliance between the two churches was strengthened by the access of 3 Armenian princesses, including the famous Queen Melisende, to the throne of the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem. However, the formal union reached in 1198 was never accepted by the Armenians outside Cilicia and came to an end in 1375. At the Council of Florence in 1439, the decree Exsultate Deo foresaw the reunion of the Armenian Church with the Church of Rome. Although it was never applied, the document provided the doctrinal basis for the establishment of the Armenian Catholic Church in 1741.
In
1741, some bishops asked for union with Rome, with the Catholic Church, with Pope Benedict XIV. The first patriarch was Abraham Ardzivian. Many followed, and now we have the 19th, still in union with Rome.
Sempre in unione con Roma.
The Armenian Catholic Patriarchate of the See of Cilicia is now occupied by His Beatitude Nerses Bedros XIX Tarmuni. He is the supreme authority of the Armenian Catholic Church. After the genocide of 1915 to 1916, which decimated the Armenian community in Turkey, the Patriarchate was moved again from Constantinople to Bzumar in Lebanon, where it was located prior to 1867. In Jerusalem, Bethlehem and Jaffa, the Armenian Catholic Church has around 100 families, numbering about 400 persons, with about the same numbers in Amman, Jordan. A very small but closely united minority in the Holy Land. Armenian Catholics are also well integrated into the local Israeli and Arab society. Worldwide, the Armenian Catholics total around 700,000, with particularly important communities in France, the United States, Argentina, Australia, Lebanon, Syria, Romania, and Turkey. In Armenia, following national independence in 1991 and the establishment of the Eparchy of Armenia and Eastern Europe with a small seminary, the number of faithful has nearly doubled in the last 10 years. The Armenian Catholic Church has many educational institutes throughout the world. They are administered by its religious congregations, the Sisters of the Immaculate Conception and the well-known Mekhitarist congregation, founded in Constantinople by a monk called Mechita, and later received as refugees on the island of San Lazzaro in Venice, which became the most active center of Armenian cultural and intellectual rebirth in the 18th century. Despite her limited local presence in the Holy Land, the Armenian Catholic Church conducts various social and religious activities, starting, as already mentioned, with the Eucharistic adoration, which brings together not only the Armenian Catholic community and various Christian denominations, but even attracts some Jews and Muslims.
Già il sogno era quello di fare qui un centro eucaristico, un centro di adorazione, un centro di accoglienza.
There was a desire to create a centre of Eucharistic adoration here, a place where all Christians would be welcome, Catholics and Orthodox, but also Muslims. Some have visited us, as well as Hindus. It is open to everyone. They come and sit here. They come in and stay a few hours in silence, or they may remain outside, sitting on the chairs. They stay there, they watch, and they look at us. A woman once came in and went to the monstrance and bowed. Now I see that there are also some Orthodox. They come very discreetly. Some remain at the back and pray. Others come in and bow down.
O altri che arrivano dentro e si prostrano sulla, no? E pregano. All'inizio non era così. Silenziosamente.
Silently and slowly, with ups and downs, there is a growing movement. To be here together in front of him, this is wonderful. It creates communion.
Crea comunione, crea comunione.
In addition to her other activities, the Armenian Catholic Church also has a youth centre and, at the convent of the Third Station on the Via Dolorosa, a pilgrim hostel which responds to the needs of many visitors to the holy places.
This is a guest house that pilgrims, tourists from all over the world come to, from Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, but most people come from Germany. We have a lot of pilgrims from Germany. And inside, there are some families living in the convent.
Typically, only Armenian Catholic pilgrims from the West visit the Holy Land, as the pilgrims of the Middle East encounter difficulties that make the trip impossible. Every Friday, the Franciscan friars of the Custody of the Holy Land pass by here on their weekly Way of the Cross, which brings many pilgrims together, as well as local Christians and representatives of local religious congregations. There is also a social synergy between the Armenian Catholic and the Armenian Orthodox communities of Jerusalem.
Well, the Armenian Catholic Church, it doesn't have a lot of activities because it's a very small community. That's why, for instance, for the Scouts, all the Armenian children, the Armenian Catholics, they go to the Armenian Orthodox community. So we don't have an Armenian Catholic school, but there's an Armenian Orthodox school that a lot of children go to.
A unique feature of the Armenian Catholic Patriarchal Exarchate is its location in the center of the Muslim quarter of the Holy City, at an intersection used also by members of the Jewish community on their way to the Western Wall.
It's very nice, but it's also kind of hard. A lot of different cultures. You'll see a lot of people during the day, so it's too much sometimes, but it's also nice. Our lives, we've been together, bonding together. Most of my friends are Muslims.
The richness of the Armenian liturgy and of its rituals, prayers and songs reflects the history and character of Armenia, a history marked by a deep and abiding Christian faith, by many battles fought to defend it, and by the witnessing of many martyrs.
The Armenian liturgy is characterized by its language, which I find very beautiful and musical, and also by its specific melodies. They have a sad tone. It seems to me that they reflect the Armenian nation and its mountains.
La sua forza, le sue montagne. Io sento molto viva la sacralità in questa liturgia.
I feel that the sacredness of the liturgy is very much alive. The continuous asking for forgiveness, blessing and forgiveness. Also, there is the continuous glorification of the Father, which is ceaseless. One cannot say half a sentence without also giving glory. Glorification and request for mercy with the der Verhornia, the Kyrie eleison. And there are the blessings. The celebrant continuously blesses the people and offers them the peace of Christ.
E la benedizione. E durante la celebrazione, da parte del celebrante, un continuo benedire il popolo, donare la pace di Cristo al popolo.
The Armenian Church is particular among the Eastern churches because she uses only one form of anaphora, the one established by Saint Nerses of Lambron in the 12th century. Replacing the Greek and Syriac texts previously used for the celebrations, the Armenian liturgical language, called Krapar, is unique, and its alphabet, invented in the 4th century by the monk Mesrop Mashots, is the pride of the Armenian nation. The Armenian liturgy is directly derived from the ancient rites of the Holy City. This is also reflected in the typical internal features of her churches, where, for example, a curtain is used instead of the Byzantine iconostasis, a custom taken over from the Church of Jerusalem, which had assimilated this element from the Jewish temple. The Armenian Catholic liturgy is almost identical to that of the Armenian Orthodox Church.
La sola differenza che abbiamo è che durante il memento loro evidentemente fanno la memoria.
The only difference is that the name of the Orthodox Patriarch is pronounced first, whereas we mention the Holy Father first. But generally the creed is exactly the same. All the rituals are very similar. There is not much difference.
Il credo è esattamente lo stesso. Tutti i riti sono quasi parecchi, non c'è molta differenza.
The practice of the deposition of the Blessed Sacrament in the tabernacle, of his exposition and adoration, on the contrary, is taken from the Latin Rite.
Comunità armena, questo per noi è bellissimo, tutte le domeniche dopo la celebrazione eucaristica nella quale si consacra l'ospite.
After the Eucharistic celebration, during which the host is consecrated, the whole Armenian community, and this is wonderful for us, descends into the crypt, singing, and they long to receive it, a sign that they love the Eucharist.
Lo trovano quasi un diritto della comunità, no? Lo cercano proprio, lo aspettano. Questo è molto bello, questo vuol dire amore all'Eucaristia.
There are many traditional rituals full of symbolism, such as the blessing of the four corners of the world, called Andastan, performed on Palm Sunday and on Easter Day, at Pentecost and at various other liturgical celebrations. There is also the rite performed during the vigil of Holy Thursday.
Più bei canti liturgici si trovano in questa serata.
We have a very special rite, and I think the most beautiful hymns that we have are sung during this ceremony. And then there is a particular way of reading the Gospels. First of all, we light 12 candles, with one in the middle, representing Christ with the 12 apostles. And then, as the Gospels are read, each time 2 candles are extinguished at a time. So at the end, only Jesus remains, and all the apostles are gone.
Senza aiuto, e tutti gli apostoli sono andati via.
The rituals of Holy Friday are also very evocative, when the faithful of the Armenian Catholic community gather with devotion around the deceased Christ after deposing him from the cross. The Christian artistic heritage is shared by all Armenians, both Orthodox and Catholic. Particularly well known are the manuscripts, with their embroidery in red and gold, and the famous Armenian bolus, an ochre clay background used for gilding. Also well known is the iron and pottery work, which is also traditional in Jerusalem. It was Armenian artists who created the ceramics for the Dome of the Rock, one of the most holy places for Muslims, which stands on the site of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. With its clear and well-defined lines, Armenian architecture is laden with Byzantine and Persian influence, the two empires from which Armenia had to win independence. Armenian churches are characterized by the typical octagonal ciborium above the altar, on which the celebrant officiates with his back turned to the assembly. The cross is omnipresent in Armenian Christianity, both on the liturgical level, at least 4 feasts are dedicated to it, and on the artistic and symbolic levels. It serves not only as a reminder of the many sufferings endured, but also, and above all, as a sign of victory.
Gli armeni in genere sono chiamati.
The Armenians are also called worshippers of the cross, because wherever they go, they make crosses. The Armenian cross is normally without the crucifix, because for us, it's obvious that Christ is risen, so he is no longer on the cross.
The typical stone cross, or kachka, is very widely disseminated.
Sempre dico che questa croce che è ornata di fiori.
Of this cross, which is decorated with flowers, I always say that the flowers signify it is not a dry piece of wood, but is full of life. As it happens in other rites, there is no blessing without the cross, because the cross helps the priest, and especially in giving the blessing.
Non dà la benedizione senza la croce, perché la croce aiuta il sacerdote a dare la benedizione mediante il crocifisso.
Open to ecumenism from the start, the Armenian Catholic Church wishes, first and foremost, to have a real dialogue with the Armenian Orthodox Church, whose seat is at Ecumenical in Armenia.
Siamo in molte buone relazioni, non c'è nessun problema, però un vero dialogo non esiste, purtroppo.
We are on good terms. There is no problem, but there is no real dialogue. Also because the Armenian Apostolic Church prefers to have direct dialogue with the Church of Rome. And for us, this is a bit difficult to cope with. I think that it is up to the Church of Rome to tell the Armenian Apostolic Church to start a dialogue with the Armenian Catholics. In fact, this has just started in Armenia, where on January 6th, my predecessor, now an archbishop, attended the Christmas celebration at the Patriarchate of Ecumenical with the whole Armenian Catholic clergy, and that is a first step. We also have very good relations with the Protestant churches in Armenia.
Al Patriarcato Armeno, al Cattolico Sacrato Armeno di Ecumenical. E questo è un primo passo. Abbiamo anche relazioni molto buone con i protestanti, gli armeni protestanti.
At the crossroads between the Eastern and Western traditions, the Armenian Catholic Church strongly and bluntly expresses how the authentic witnessing of an effective communion is one of the most fundamental and essential challenges for the Church today. This is especially true in Jerusalem, which is the prime meeting place for Christians of all kinds.
Quello che ci manca è quello il più insistente per me.
Most emphatically for me, what we lack is communion, finding a way in which no one feels sacrificed for another, finding a fellowship like that of the apostles. The challenge is witnessing the non-confessional Christian witness. We should always try to present that as a good example to all those around us, both Jews and Muslims.
A tutti quelli che ci circondano, sia ebrei che musulmani.
Gerusalemme dovrebbe essere, come si dice sempre, il simbolo della pace per tutto il mondo.
Jerusalem should be the center of peace. Therefore, religious dialogue should also start from Jerusalem. I think we will all need to take very important decisions, especially regarding the celebration of the feasts together. What I think is lacking today is communication, because everything is permitted today except communication in sacred questions. It is perhaps easier to see this in the Catholic Church, which has various rites, but is united by the same faith. But it is much more difficult to find this between the Catholic and the Orthodox Church, which will need to make a big step towards this unity. If the Catholic Church and the Orthodox will make this big step, all the others will follow.
È molto più difficile di vedere fra, diciamo, la Chiesa cattolica e quella ortodossa, e che dovranno fare, a me sembra, un grande passo verso questa unità.